Buenos dias, everybody. Dr. Hensey here, and we're going to be talking for a couple minutes about your curriculum framework. That is the reference tool that gives you an overview of the entire unit we will be talking about in political science. So this is the CF for period 1, 3 pages long. Looks like there are 9 lessons total for period 1. So let me show you how to read this. We're going to start over here on the left-hand side. This is more gobbledygook that's mainly for me. This is the big picture ideas that the College Board says we have to know as part of political science. They're stated here. You'll never probably refer to them, but they have nice color coding so that if you do like this particular learning goal, you know it's part of constitutionalism. But where your focus is going to be is up here on your lessons. We will do one lesson a day, unless there's some longer ones like 1.5. I think I split that into 1.5 part 1 and 1.5 part 2 because it's a little bit longer than the rest of them. So each of these is a day. Our learning goal is at the bottom, and if we zoom in through the miracle of technology, you see that our first learning goal is explain how democratic ideals are reflected in the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. So that's what you should be able to do by the time you finish lesson 1.1. And that is what you will be assessed on. I'm going to have some sort of activity for you to do where you will demonstrate a working knowledge of how democratic ideals are reflected in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And you go, Dr. Hensey, that's so broad. How am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to know what that means? Don't worry, calm down. I'm here for you guys. If you look above, these are our learning goals. Objectives, big picture. Goals are specific picture. And you'll see these tell you the facts that you need to know to be able to answer that objective. Am I telling you the answers to the questions you're being assessed on? I certainly am. So these learning goals go through and they tell you what you need to know by the time you finish this lesson. Terms that are bolded are terms specifically vocabulary words AP has said you have to know. So I'm making those stand out. I would make sure that those incorporate into any assessment that you do. You'll notice the Declaration and the U.S. Constitution are underlined. The articles are underlined. Article 5 of the Constitution is underlined. 10th and 14th Amendments are underlined as well. That's because AP has a list of what they call the foundational documents that you are expected to be able to reference while you do your assessments and then later on the AP test. Good news is they're pretty simple. You just saw the Declaration, the Constitution. Those are pretty easy. You see, we're going to read Federalist number 10 and Brutus number 1. Those are foundational documents. I think altogether there's like 7 total. So anytime you see a bold underline, that's telling you that it's referencing a foundational document. So that's something that you would need to know. You also notice that there are some Supreme Court cases that are bolded and italicized. AP has a list of, I believe it's 12 Supreme Court cases that you are required to know. And when I say required to know, it's actually pretty simple. You just need to know the background of the case, the question constitutionally the court's asked to decide, and then the ruling of the court. So our first two are going to be McCullough and Lopez. These are 2 of the 12. But I made those stand out as well. So when you go back to look over this to prepare for the AP exam, you can see this is where foundational documents come in. This is where required Supreme Court cases. This is vocabulary you should do. Now, peeps that had me last year know I love nothing more than a good flashcard with a vocabulary word on one side and a definition on the other. Who doesn't love that? So to me, this just screams flashcard, 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 flashcard. I'm not going to say that anymore because it sounds weird when you say it too often. But those are great vocabulary words to know. And if you make your flashcards as you go along, when it comes time to take the AP test in May, bammo, you got a whole stack of flashcards to study from. Brilliant, right? Right. So the curriculum framework outlines everything that you need to know. It's a one-stop shop. So for example, when you're doing your assessment on lesson 1, 2, and you have to explain how the models of representative democracy are visible in major institutions, policies, events, or debates in the United States, and you're like, what do I have to include in my answer? Ta-da! Look at the learning goals and see what did we talk about in this lecture. Now, I know y'all want to get really excited, so I'm just going to go full out geeked out for a second. Wasn't planning on doing this. This is spontaneous. Let's take a look at a sample lecture for poli-sci. So you'll notice that there's my learning goal, lesson 1-1, and my objective. Explain how democratic ideals, yada, yada, yada. Lesson 1-1, I opened the wrong thing. Don't look at that. Close your eyes. That did not happen. We are going to look here. There it is, lesson 1-1. First slide, why? I'll be darned, it's the objective. It's what you need to know by the time we finish this lesson. And look how long that lecture is. It's 2, count them, 2 PowerPoint slides. And at the top of each lesson, ta-da, there is your learning goal. Now you're like, where does that come from and what's he talking about? There it is. Explain how the U.S. government is based on the ideas of limited government, etc., etc., etc. Same thing. Here's the notes that I'm going to be talking about that answer that learning goal. Second learning goal. Second learning goal. So what you're saying, Dr. Hensey, I love referring to myself in the third person, is that each slide of a PowerPoint is one of the learning goals that we have to know. Yes. And then I'm further saying that if you know these 2 things, you will be able to answer that objective for whatever type of project I throw at you. Bada bing, bada boom, we got it done, and you guys have learned something about the ideals of democracy. One other thing I did want to show you is notes and taking notes on those lessons. You're going to get this PowerPoint. It's going to have me down in the corner talking at you. Pause for effect. And you can either take notes on it in just a regular old notebook if you want. I also will post student notes for you. This follows the PowerPoint exactly. Look, there is the objective at the top. There is the learning goal. Here is the short amount of information you have to know, which matches the information here exactly. So you can take notes on these. You can type away with your happy little fingers. You can have them up on your phone as you take notes in a notebook. You can never open these and take your own notes. You can do whatever you want with the student notes. Those are yours. But they will be available for each unit for you. So to recap, curriculum framework is an overview of everything in the unit, all collected in one place. Lessons include the lesson number, the objective, the learning goals, the content. Student notes include lesson number, objective, learning goals, content. That's what how all the curriculum ties together. I'll explain to you what you're going to be turning in for your end of lesson questions in a separate video. If you have questions, don't hesitate to email me, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. We can Google Hangout. You can talk to me in person, of course, safely. But ask your questions. And as always, thanks everybody and have a great day. I hope it's a good one.